welcome to Inside SteamPunkery. My name is Michelle Cornwell-Jordan, and I'm your host. Guys, I'm very, very excited. This is my new web chat, and here I chat with different artists, entertainers, authors, all in the world of punk. And tonight, I have joining me is H. James Lopez. He's here to chat about his contribution for the Shakespeare Goes Punk Volume 1 from the Writer Punk Press Project. James, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Should go with tonight. It's late there.
It is late. Yes, I'm Central Time. So yeah, it's getting pretty late here. So all right, well, James, I'm so glad that you were able to join me. And so we just want to go ahead and jump right into it. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
My name is H. James Lopez. That's my nom de plume. That's what I write under.
Okay.
I've worked on the the Writer Punk Press Project. Down in
Say that fast.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. It's a mouthful. It's on their first in their first anthology. I was the author of one of the prime stories, which was Prospero's Island. Okay. And then in their second project, I've been working as a content editor, and that's the Once More Into the Breach.
Nice.
And now they've a third project, which is the Poe project, which I don't know the name of, and I'm still working as a content editor on that one.
Okay, fantastic. And we definitely want to jump into that in a few minutes, but I want to take us back to the beginning. So how did you find the writing path? Has this always been a lifelong dream of yours or a newfound passion?
I'm gonna delve into that and say, yeah, it's always been something that I've done since I was a little kid, telling a lot of stories and, able to spin a yarn, as some people would say. Mm-hmm. More than anything, when writing came about, it was just a way to project what I wanted to see. I mean, there's an adage a lot of people use that, if you don't like what's out there, then you should make something that you like and put it out there. And I think that's kind of why I went into the writing path. It was a lot of the stories that I kept reading were old hat, or at least they were just not very original takes on new things. And so I said, then, rather than complain about it, you should go out and write something and see if you can get some people to like what you write.
Very cool. I like that. Well, so what was it that took it from, I'm not going to say a hobby, but, from the beginnings of the beginning of your writing to, this is what I really want to do. What was that catalyst where, you really became serious about your writing and publishing?
Well, to be honest, it's always, most writers will tell you that their writing is a back burner project. It's the thing that they're constantly trying to do, but other things are always in the way. Right. The thing that really kind of made me jump forward in it was the silliest thing is I started doing National Novel Writing Month.
Yes.
NaNoWriMo, I believe a lot of people call it. Yeah. And doing that helped me complete one or two works, and when I finished them, there was that feeling of electric, energy of I did it, and then it's done. And so I wanted to actually edit it and put it out there and have people say, well, you did a good job. Because before that, I had 20 different half-completed projects, and there was no drive to finish anything. So right. I could always play and just start something else and say, oh, I'll come back to that. Mm-hmm. But when you had that goal of trying to complete one long project, it has spurred me to want more complete projects.
Very cool. And then that is true. NaNoWriMo was where I completed my very first full length. And so I think it's a great project, I'm not sure what they would call it, but event. And so, yeah.
I think it's great. A lot of people love it. I live in San Antonio, and we have a very large group for NaNoWriMo. And so many people come out, and it's a very good group that of a lot of different writers, and we have romance writers, and we have fiction writers, and adventure and steampunk, and having all these different people to bounce ideas off of is one of those things that it just helps you generate more ideas in your head and put them down on paper.
Right, very cool. And for those that may be joining us and you may not be aware of what NaNoWriMo is, it's National Novel Writing Month. And writers from all over the world, they commit for 30 days to write a full length, well, a short novel, 50,000 words. And so there's a set number every day. There's a way to calculate or keep up with that number. And the goal is to finish that project by the November 30th. And so it's really fun. There's a lot of great support. I love it. So check it out, guys, if you're interested in being involved out there. Okay, so let's chat about your story for the anthology. How did it all come about?
I was working on a couple of different things at the time. Most of the time I'm writing what most would call adventure noir, like noir fiction, detective, college age kind of thing. And it's not your standard punk. And so I won't even lie and say it is. But there's a lot of boards that I was part of, a lot of groups that were talking about different things that they wanted to publish. And someone threw the idea out at Writer Punk of putting together an anthology of Shakespeare-based punk stories. And they said it didn't have to stay a play; you could just rewrite it as a novel or a novelette. And I was really taken by the idea of not only taking Shakespearean plays and translating them into novels, but taking them into Shakespearean plays and then accounting for a punk type of environment. You know, making something like in Prospero's Island, instead of having a heavy magic element, which is what is in The Tempest, we use Tesla punk, which is an electricity based on Nikola Tesla's science.
Yes.
So that's how they enhance people, and it makes it it gives you that real world kind of feel without having to go very mythic, magic, fantasy, you know, unicorns and rainbows kind of a thing.
Very, very cool. Oh my goodness, that sounds great. Well, I'm going to be honest. Before connecting with the Writer Punks, I had entered the world of punk, steampunk last year, but never heard of the classics. You know, Shakespeare, Poe, all of that being punked out. So I think that was fascinating. How long did it take you to create your story? How
Let me see. The first story. I was looking at 25. I want to say it's 25,000 words. I'm gonna lie and say that it's exactly 25,000 words.
Okay.
I think it's 20 to 22, but I'm gonna say 25 to make myself sound real good.
Okay.
But it took me a rough 6 weeks, maybe 8. Now it took about 6 weeks to initially flush the novel, just to get the whole thing down, and then 2 more weeks of sadness where I just kind of looked it over and I said, wow, that doesn't make any sense. And then took some stuff out and had other people look at it and say, oh well, this you kind of jumped from scene to scene here without any kind of transition. You need to fix that. So I want to say I gave myself a full 8 weeks before I sent it in. Nice. And even then I was very hesitant. I was thinking to myself, this is going to get rejected immediately. They're not in space. They're going to read this and say,
immediately.
Not only have you insulted us with this, but you've insulted Shakespeare with your horrible version.
Oh no!
But that was my full intent. I really was waiting on an email from someone that said, we would like you to take yourself out of our group. You were really bad at it. But the email never came, and that was the part that got me. A lot of people read it. They went through it with a medium tooth comb, and they edited a little bit down, and then they said, no, we would like to keep this.
Nice.
And put this in our book.
Congratulations.
So I was very happy about it.
And look at that. And then you graduated to becoming one of the editors yourself. So you do rock.
I know.
I know.
Well, I don't want to sound overconfident and say that I do rock. It's a little self-indulgent. But yes, they appreciated the story. They liked how it turned out.
Very cool.
From what I can tell, there have been a couple of decent people who have read it who have purchased it and read it, and they say good things about my particular lot of good things about all of the stories. I'm not going to gloat just on myself. The first anthology was, I believe, 5 stories, and they're all a rough 22 to 25,000 words. And we've gotten a lot of really good reviews from people, not only for my story, Prospero's Island, but for Winter's Tale, which was Jeffrey Cook's story, and especially for Green-Eyed Monster, which now I cannot remember the other author. That's why they say you should never thank anybody or start a list of other people's stuff, because you will forget people's names.
Right.
But Green-Eyed Monster has gotten great reviews, and so has a couple of the other stories. I mean, and the thing that I think was very interesting is that they weren't tied to the novelette. Mine is a novelette, so it's a very story told from the eyes of a character, and it gives you everything you need to paint the scene. But I believe at least one of the stories written in there, it might have been Carol Geisender's Mac, which was written in the play format.
Really?
So it still has that play feel to it. And I think that was a very interesting call on their part, because you can't just throw the play out entirely. You've got to make some of the stories visual, and you've got to make some of the stories novel, and you've got to do different things. That's the whole point of punking it, was you're trying to do original things with it.
Like that. Very cool. And so, what is your process? Are you a pantser, a planner, or outliner, or a plantser? You do both.
Well, I'm gonna go with pants. No, I've given up on pantsing a novel because it's just too much. I'm one of those guys that I have at least one high fantasy book that is sitting in my saved drive of books that I started, and it's up to 140,000 words, and it doesn't have anywhere to go. And you're just looking at it, and every year I look at it, and I'm like, that's 140,000 words I'll never get back. Because it's not going anywhere.
Wow.
It's a long, rambling diatribe about, swords and sorcery. So I have found that pantsing it does not work for me. Now, it's not to say there's not a lot of good pantsers out there. Plenty of them. And it's a great way, if you've got the ability to, I guess, tighten your writing as you go, pantsing works. But for some people, me included, the ability to cut yourself off is just something that I don't have. So I need to have a plan. I need to know where the arc is going to be. I need to know where my characters are going and where they're going to land before I even get started. Otherwise, I wind up on long-winded diatribes like these conversations.
You're fun. You're perfect. Okay. Well, I agree with you. I'm a pantser myself, but I think I'm slowly moving towards trying to at least have a loose outline, because you're correct. It can just kind of thread off somewhere, and you're trying to find yourself. So I agree with you.
To go back to that 140,000 word novel-tastic epic that I have sitting in a drawer somewhere. I've had people read that, and this was what sold me on never pantsing again. Was a friend of mine was reviewing a couple of chapters for it, and he had read about 5 chapters in, and he turned to me and he said, "This is really good. I love this character right here. I could get behind this person and follow them through the whole story." And then I explained to them that person was just a third string character that had nothing to do with the actual story.
Well, see, that just shows your writing skill. It's just
but it also shows that I have 5 chapters on a character that has nothing to do with the story.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. Well, yes, you may want to trim that down a little, but I think that's awesome.
No, that's getting cut down in 100 different ways.
Well, for those that may be watching and may not really understand what punk is, could you give your definition of what the punk genre is?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Someone actually asked me that a couple of weeks ago at a writing group that I attend. And they were asking what made what made it punk.
Mm-hmm.
And the best explanation I could give, and it's one that I've probably stolen from somebody else, so don't attribute this to me, is that the idea of punk is to do something different, and it's to change a genre in one way, but to be consistent in that change.
Mm-hmm.
So steampunk
Mm-hmm.
is essentially saying we got to the same place where we're at now, but instead of this, we used steam
Mm-hmm.
to gear our technology, or diesel or Tesla punk. They all have that niche. They're saying we want to achieve the same things, but instead of getting there by means that you know from history books,
Mm-hmm.
we got there by these different means, and thus changed the entire aspect of the world, which is what makes it very interesting, because you have to kind of lock into your punk.
Yeah.
You have to say, I'm going to write this story in diesel punk.
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to give me that gritty oil kind of a feel,
Mm-hmm.
and is going to say to everybody, not only do they have engines, but they have engines that are grimy, and they have this, this world of you've got to have a build, and you've got to have engine running, but it runs everything, and diesel runs everything. The world doesn't believe in cheaper unleaded or solar, and all these other things kind of get pushed to the side, and you say the best ideas came from diesel, and that's where we're going with it. And that's what I think a lot of people enjoy about punk, is that it is adapting a current history and saying, what would happen if we took our history and just changed it by how we got there?
Mm-hmm.
What if when they first designed electric cars back in the 1800s, somebody said, let's make that happen and all cars are electric. So from then on, they never went to a gasoline engine.
Wow.
And everything was just battery powered.
Mm-hmm.
You would have a whole different world, and that has to build a world based on that.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
That's a long way to answer your question.
No, and I think that's a great way. Because I've heard so many people ask that question, and that's why I said, how do you describe it? Because I think there's so many different ways to describe the punk genre, but I think that's an excellent way. And for those that are looking and listening,
Hello.
Used to video, I'm used to radio. That is why I am doing a gypsy pirate punk thing right now. I'm just my own person here, but there are different.
I didn't dress up. I apologize.
That's okay. Next time, you're dressed.
Next time.
But there are different types of punks, as James has said. There's steam, diesel, cyber, nano, just everything. There's different types, and it can encompass so many different things. The paranormal, mystery, romance, and that's why I think I love it, because it has everything in it. So I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way of writing. So, but I did want to touch on that for those that were listening. Your second story in volume 2, what was that particular story about?
Okay. In volume 2, I worked as an editor on one of the stories. I was just doing content edits for readability,
right?
And I sent that back.
Okay.
I am hoping beyond hope that there's a volume 3.
Right.
I've already written for that one, so that's now I have 2 hopefully punk stories that can go out. Which that one was for the third Shakespeare. I've adapted a Taming of the Shrew using biopunk.
Wow, nice. That's pretty interesting. And so what made you think of that? I mean, where did that idea originate? Why use Taming of the Shrew?
Well, Taming of the Shrew to me has always been a very weird play. If you ever watch it in the way that they perform it in the Shakespearean play,
mm-hmm.
It's not a very friendly play. It's very anti-women.
Yes.
It's very serve the master.
Yes.
And if you actually read through the text, the reason Shakespeare got away with that was because at the beginning of the play he pretends that it's a farce. He is actually, it's a play within a play, based on the and the entire play is supposed to be a farce about obedience and not acting above your station and behaving in accordance with the rules that are set by both society and your master. And I found that to be there's a lot to work there, especially when you have something like punk. I found that you want to work a story that people aren't expecting to be worked in that way. For my Taming of the Shrew, I removed the gender aspect.
Okay.
By creating I essentially create an all-male society. It's based at a military academy.
Okay.
So there's the society has a non-gendered norm, and your job defines what your gender will be. So based on the census, based on the military's need, whether or not they need more soldiers in the front, they give more men. And if they don't need as many soldiers, they have more women who are recruits. And so it turns the gender portion into the goal. You know, you have certain characters that have to be men. They want it more than anything else. That's what they need. That's their goal. We have other characters who, and that was, for me, that was a way to change up the traditional. As if you read Taming of the Shrew, or if you watch the performance, there's a lot of things in there that are, you can't just have. One of the main characters is driven entirely by wanting to get paid. So he is willing to marry the shrew simply to just get a lot of money. And you can't just, that can't always be the goal. It's not always about just getting paid. So we had to come up with a different way to make it so that everybody had to want certain things, and you still want that love aspect. You still want the core Shakespearean goal, which is always, you know, there's the boys fight the other boys, and the boys love the girls, and then everybody gets with everybody else by the end of the play, and there's a dance. And that's, you know, that's every Shakespearean comedy summed up in 4 sentences right there.
I love it.
If you need a 4-sentence breakdown of every Shakespearean tragedy, it's a little bit more horrific. But every comedy essentially works out to, you know, the boys have a fight, the boys get the girl, there's a dance, and that's it. Happily ever after.
Happily ever after. Very cool. I've spoken to several other of the authors that work in the punk area, and one of the things that I've noticed, they said that it's a challenge for them are coming up with the gadgets and the gizmos. How about you? When you had to come up with the punk aspect, you know, the gadgets. When you think of punk, you do think of all the cool gizmos. So how do you come up with these things or create them for your world?
I had, well, in Prospero's Island, one of the things people told me was that the tech was very well thought out. It had to be based on the design of Nikola Tesla's generators. So I had to sit there and really understand how Tesla created arcs of electricity and how he used them to power things, and why it was more dangerous than the regular electricity that we have in the house. Apparently it'll kill you if you're not paying attention. So, you know, it's one of those things.
It's just one of those things. Maybe we're glad Tesla didn't.
Yeah, you gotta be prepared for that. But that's one of the things. It's in the research of. You'll have to excuse me. I'm getting a little water here.
That's okay.
Yeah, I got no water there.
Do you need to get some water?
I had a cup, and I was like, I'm gonna get some water, but I didn't get it. No. I'll be fine. The thing about the Tesla Punk was that I committed to having Tesla Punk, and so I had to figure out how his electricity worked. And then creating the gadgets was a matter of function. One of the characters in the original Tempest is a pseudo angel. She's a spirit, a nymph, and she flies around. In that instance, I created electric powered wings that were kind of labeled out as being made of mostly graphite, light iron, and some fabrics that Prospero had. because I was trying to make it to where he had created this tech using what the ship that he was shipwrecked on the island. He didn't, it didn't just happen. He was shipwrecked on the island. There were these fairy-esque creatures who lived there. They were prey to a bigger set of creatures. And so to help them, he has created these attachments and electronically powered gadgetry that he attaches to them to give them legs, to give them better shape, to make them fighters against their common enemy, which is a very human thing to do. You know, we're not about falling in line with nature. We're about, oh, we're gonna make, it's cold, I'll make a jacket. You know, it's if I can't get somewhere, I'll build a car.
Yes, very.
And so it was a lot of it was necessity, and that's in I think in a lot of the punk genres, that's what it winds up being, is your tech comes out of necessity. You know, the invention of how would you solve this problem if you didn't have a magical means? How would you solve this problem if somebody hadn't already solved it for you? What would you do to fix this problem?
I like that. Very. I'm learning something, guys. That's awesome. I like that a lot. Well, tell us a little bit about the rest of your writing. You said that you just really started with the punk. Well, you know, when you became involved with the writer punk group. But what about the other writings? Tell us a little bit about that, your other works.
Well, if we're going to talk about a lot more writing, I am actually going to have to take a second to go get a glass of water.
Okay. Well,
I hope you and your viewers don't mind. It'll be just one quick minute.
You go right ahead.
Wave. I'll be right back. I mean that.
Back. All right, guys. And while we're waiting, I'm just letting you know that Inside SteamPunkery will come to you once a month. And I plan, you know, to highlight entertainers, authors, artists that's all in the punk genre. If you are interested in steampunk or any of the punks and would like to come be a guest on Inside SteamPunkery, please just PM me on Facebook, or you can contact me at mcjordan37@att.net. And James is back.
Came back.
We're back.
I'm sorry, could I get a pickup on that last question?
Yes, your other writings. Just, you know, briefly, you just let us know about your other works.
Okay, my other works. If you go to Amazon, which is where we sell the steampunk books, just so everybody knows.
Yes.
The Sound and Fury. Just type in Sound and Fury, and there you go. You'll find that I'm listed, H. James Lopez, and it has one other book listed there, which is one of my it's noir adventure in a college kind of a feel. Most of the time, I stick to the adventure genre. I do a lot of you know, very real world. I was not a big fantasy author. And I think that was one of the reasons that it to me, a lot of the novels that I write, you know, novelettes, I guess people would call them, they fall into the adventure category. They are very real world. They are very, I've had to think through a lot of the processes that go through, you know, gun smuggling and bank robberies. There was a whole scene where somebody got killed in a giant glass ball.
Wow.
It's not like crazy Saw writing, but it's just, you know, one of those things where somebody gets put in a ball and there's nothing you can do about it.
This is happens.
What are you going to do?
I know,
it happens. Right? But by that same logic, a lot of the stuff is real world. It has to be, for me, it was always writing about places that people would know, cities that people would know. I've had many people tell me that they've read parts of my book and said, oh, I've driven down that road. I think I've been to that restaurant. And I'm like, you probably have. And I remember it from, you know, going somewhere. Those are the books that, like, the other book that's on there is called The Blue Star Workaround. And I will tell you right now that is the 4th edit that I've put on Amazon solely for the sake of having something else other than The Sound of the Fury on my page because I felt sad personally.
Oh my goodness.
I was a little broke down. I was like, wow, this anthology book got done so much faster that I actually have to put something else on here. So I did put it up there, and now it's in edit number 6.
Okay.
So if anyone does purchase that, know that you will get a cleaner copy whenever it goes back on. And someone corrected me on this. Amazon does that for you. When you re-edit and put something up, they send the people who have purchased your book a clean copy.
Yeah.
So I feel better now, knowing that the people who have bought it have not been cheated out of edits that came later. They may not want to reread it. They may have already read it, and they're like, well, now I don't want to read it again. I don't care.
They have it, just in case.
Yeah, but they have it. That's what matters.
That's what matters. They're taken care of.
I can say I've got about 3 books in the noir adventure series. It's very, young American fiction. It's I don't want to like undersell it, but I don't want to oversell it as this great genre that I work in. I mean, but it's fiction based on adventure that people would want to read and say, oh yeah, that could so never happen in my life, but it's nice to know that it's happened to somebody.
Hey, I mean, living the dream, vicariously through your characters. That's what's important.
There you go.
You're making that experience.
I would never want to live one of my characters.
You never want to.
They have hard lives.
Oh.
I mean, a lot of hurt happens to those people. Other than that, there is let's see, the epic high fantasy that sits in the shelf, and we're not going to talk about that.
No. Okay.
But to be fair, this was going to be the year that I returned to the high fantasy and attempted to finish that. God, no, it's not going to happen. Just doing the helping with the editing for Poe, which is the Writer Punk Press Poe. I can't tell you what the name of the book is. I'm gonna get heat for that. Somebody's gonna be like, James, you should have known the name of the book. But helping edit some of the stories on Poe, they're short. They came in at a much shorter number than the stories for Once More Into the Breach and Sound and Fury. I imagine because Poe wrote, very short
pieces, right?
Yes. You had to work. You got to work with what the original author gave you, and, but they are very good. I've read through 2 of them so far, and I can honestly say that I am put to shame by comparison to some of those writers. I mean, they have a tight storyline. They've got great ideas, and when they put them on paper, you read through it, and you're just like, oh, that's a visual, and I can get everything from it, and it's really right there. And I'm really glad to be working with some of these people. So I say some. I'm gonna go with some. But no,
very, very cool. That's great. I mean, that the anthologies are evolving. They're getting better and they're getting better and they're getting better. So I think that is just wonderful. As far as just everything else, and I'm just having a brain freeze here.
all right.
Yeah, that's okay. So what are some of the influences for you? Either now or growing up. What were some of the authors that influenced you in your writing?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I don't read.
Okay.
No, I'm.
Like,
I'm horrible. I'm not one of those.
I was like, oh no.
I don't read at all. I think writing is horrible and nobody should do it. Bad thing. No. A lot of authors that I read. Now I'm going to go against the grain. I was never a big Tolkien.
Okay.
I was not a Tolkien fan.
No.
I did like your Starship Troopers, Milne. I think it's A. Milne.
Okay.
But it's I liked a book that was concise. I liked it when, you know, you were kind of ingrained in the read from the get-go, and they gave you all the information you needed, and they didn't really flower it up, which was what I think kind of drove me away from Tolkien. When I read it now, I'm older, and I have less patience because I'm older, and I want it now. But it seems like it comes across very wordy, and I think to myself, you know, I've told other writers to cut it out when they send me stuff that's this wordy. But he did get published, and I didn't. He's got huge movies that everybody loves, so perhaps I'm doing something wrong. I've always been a big fan of Chris Moore. You know, a writer that injects humor. I love. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a classic. I read most of Shakespeare when I was in high school and middle school. A little bit in college, steered clear of a lot of it. And I read a lot of Arthur Conan Doyle, a lot of Shakespeare. I love a detective story. I like a good story that keeps you engrossed and has an element of mystery. If they just kind of lay it all out there right at the beginning and tell you who the hero is, I'm never a big, you know, I like to think that maybe the other guy might be the hero. Or,
That's
right. Maybe somebody in the background might be a little bit useful.
Maybe the third character. No, just joking.
It could always be that guy.
Follow them for a couple chapters. I'm joking.
Perhaps if we had followed him for 5 chapters, we would have got something out of that. But no.
But no. Well,
I was gonna say I've not. Now there's a big genre push in the young adult, and
yes.
I have not read a lot of young adult.
Okay.
I have in a couple of different writing groups that I go to. I have had a lot of writers who love the young adult genre. They want to put books out in this genre.
Yes.
And you know, and I think that's bold because it's such a tight audience.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things I liked about this the anthologies is that they're taking subject matter that is very broad. Everybody, you know, from age 9 to 99 can read Shakespeare and get a lot out of it.
Right.
A lot of tones that everybody likes. But I mean, you know, the young adult kind of has its hit and miss. So, you know, that's never been a big read for me.
Yeah.
But I've tried. I have tried. And I'd like to think that, you know,
you gave it a shot.
Yeah, I like to think I give everything a little bit of a shot. But I tend to delve toward authors that have a little bit of a historical context. Sarah Vowell is an amazing author who I love the way she puts a paragraph together. And if there were a chance that I could write that well, I would, you know, probably cut off a hand.
Somewhat to beat the purpose. No, just joking.
Yeah, well, I could dictate the book.
You could. Technology. There you go. And I know we are just way pretty much past time, but I did want to ask a couple more, just a few more. I
will keep my answers very brief.
Okay. If you could choose any world, it can be, you know, from one of your stories or any of your favorite authors, any world to live in, which world would it be and why?
Oh man, that's a hard one. Because you're asking the tough questions.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Well, that's the problem is a lot of the books you read, you know, the worlds are nice, but everybody is having a hard time in those books. And so,
they really are.
You really want to live in those worlds. You never read about like just one world where everybody just goes and has a vacation all day and there's food, abundance everywhere. That's not a book. There's no happy book out there. If I had to live anywhere, or if I could pick a genre, I don't know. I honestly would like something akin to the diesel punk 20s, like
yes,
very, very
So,
punky, but you know,
yes.
where the tech is very raw, but
Uh-huh.
people have, you know, flush toilets.
Yeah.
That's the big thing for me, you know.
The basics.
The basics. It's
The
like
basics.
somebody will tell you, "Oh, I would love to live in the old west." It's like, no, you wouldn't. Have you ever lived in the old west? You got no water. I would go with the 20s, the 40s.
Yes,
Those are good eras where there's a little bit of there's enough, you know, going on to where you can really get a juicy story out of it.
definitely. I'm right there with you. I love that. I see. Is that the Doctor? Is that the
Oh, this
TARDIS? I love.
um
I love. Is that the
this
TARDIS?
this is a hold on, let me tilt this just a little bit. I don't know if that'll
I,
help
look,
at all.
I
All
just
in your
thought it was because I was thinking. I'm a Whovian.
my I am a very big Whovian myself. Stephen Moffat, not a great big fan. He's kind of hit or miss sometimes, but I
Right.
love the man. The man's got good writing. This is a T-shirt I got off of T Fury, and it has the Whovian Prime because
Ah,
this
yes.
is Optimus Prime
Yeah.
as a doctor, and then it
Oh,
transforms into a TARDIS in the traditional '80s style.
that is cool.
Uh,
Love
yeah.
it. Okay.
Most of my ridiculous T-shirts come from T Fury. I'm a big supporter of ridiculous T-shirts.
They're fun. That's what's important. Well, okay. So, what have you learned since being out here as far as your publishing and your writing since the very beginning? What is one thing you've learned that you didn't know when you first started?
Um, well, first and foremost, the one thing I've learned over the course of being a writer is that I am wrong a lot, and you know, I am constantly ridiculously wrong about things. You know, I will put words and phrases together, and I will have editors tell me that's not even the right word. You're you're very close. You have a similar spelled word, but it's not the right word.
I do that
Um,
constantly.
it's the first thing you learn. You're like, oh my god, my English is horrible. Uh, uh, second,
Every writer's got
and people have paid me for writing.
yeah.
Hey, talk about being illiterate. I got over that.
Yeah.
That and to never underestimate the reader.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who will tell you that there are books that are out there, and I've read some of them, and I have found that if you assume the reader doesn't know something,
Mhm.
or if you assume that you can get one over on the reader,
Yes.
those will be the ones that catch you every time.
Hmm.
Earlier we talked about killing somebody in a giant glass ball,
Yes.
and it's in a book.
Hmm.
I had given a rough dimension of the book,
Hmm.
and a character explained that they would eventually run out of air. During one of the many edits, one of the people who had read the book sat down and said, based on your figures, that person has 16 hours of air. And I was like,
Wow.
did you calculate this? And the guy showed me the math. He
Oh
whipped
my.
out a piece of paper and showed me the exact cubic space that was in that ball and said 16 hours of air at normal speed of breath. And I was just
Wow.
like, never going to get that wrong again.
Ever. Now you know. Now you know. Okay.
Now I know, and I
Now
was
you
just like, "That's ridiculous." But that taught me that the thing that you think you can glaze over
know. Right.
when you're writing, the idea that you kind of half-heartedly put on the paper,
Hmm.
someone will catch it, and if you
Yes.
can't really say that was there for a reason, you
Yes.
shouldn't be putting stuff in
Don't do
there.
it.
Yeah, never depend on the lazy reader.
There you go. And so for fun, these are just for fun. What do you do when you're not writing, and you're just relaxing? What are some of your hobbies? Just for fun.
For fun, things that I do for fun. Well, I don't work for fun.
Okay.
That's not what I work.
Right there.
But no, I'm not gonna lie. My writing is a lot of fun to me.
Awesome.
I have a rough 3 or 4 projects going at the same time, and
Okay.
that keeps me going. because I think that if you've only got one project and you're focused on that one project, that's when it becomes a chore. And people are like, oh, I can't write on that anymore. It's like, well, then you should write on something else that's more fun. When I like to get out, I do a little bit of capoeira every once and again. It's a Brazilian form of martial arts. I am a very heavy man, so watching a fat guy do capoeira is the most exciting thing you'll ever see in your life. You're constantly thinking to yourself, that guy's about to break his face. I have never seen a fat man do a backflip, but he's about to do that, and he's going to break his face.
Okay.
Just so you know, it's constant.
Now I know. I need to check that out.
Now you need to know. You're thinking about it right now. You're like,
I actually am.
How much backflip face break can I get in this? Those are my major hobbies, and that's what I'm gonna go with. I try to read. I try to I watch TV when I'm doing other stuff, when I'm trying to take my brain off of things, like everybody else. And television, amazing writers, writers, but a difficult process when you're trying to put it together. It's just so much work. I'm gonna leave that there.
You're gonna leave it right there.
Yeah. I didn't know where I was going with that sentence. So I'm gonna.
That's okay.
I'm gonna drink some fake water.
That's okay. All right.
So that we can move on.
So, we really are at this point out of time, but I've been really enjoyed chatting with you. What would be I'm going to ask this. What would be something your readers would be surprised to learn about you? They don't know, but they would be surprised to know.
I think they'd be surprised to know that I was thinking of writing some erotic biker fiction.
I think they would.
We talked about that offline, and my readers would be like, really? Erotic biker fiction? That's not even something people read, is it?
No,
it is.
I've never heard of that.
It is.
All right. Well,
sadly, you could go on to Amazon and find yourself some erotic biker fiction, and people would be like, I don't even know how many authors are out there for that. Something that my readers would actually be surprised to know. I guess they'd be surprised to know that I have not lost a limb in my life.
Okay.
I have a lot of characters that are in my works. There's guys who have lost military guys who've lost a leg, nymphs who have no arms. Just a lot of characters that are broken and battered, and all of my breakage is internal, and so I don't worry about it.
So you're
bad joke. Didn't get a slight laugh on that. But no, all of my characters have a lot of amputations.
Oh.
A lot of my characters have an amputation of some sort, and that has actually been asked of me at least once or twice in different reading groups. Was how do I go and do, where do I research that kind of thing? Right. And I live in San Antonio, where we have a large medical center, and Army medical center especially, that has a lot of amputees, a lot of military servicemen who came back, missing something or another. And so I've watched them work out on tracks. I've had conversations with them. So I tend to get very detail oriented in that respect. And people have asked whether or not I've lost a limb, and it's like, nope, I have all of my digits and appendages, and it's completely researched.
Wow, very, very, very cool. Very cool. Well, this is actually the very last question. What would be one piece of advice you would give to a brand new writer just starting out?
Starting out, stop right now. There's too many writers.
Don't do it. No.
Before anybody tells you you're good at this, you need to stop. No, to be honest, somebody who's starting out as a writer, I would tell them that they need to really find the first story is always the hardest one. The first story that you finish is always the one that took you 9 years to write this one book. But once you got that finished, you realized everything that you wanted in the next one. And that's really what I would tell somebody is go out and finish the first story, do a short, do one of these anthologies and get your feet wet in the concept of beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
So that you can then elaborate and expand into what you really want. But you got to have that, you got to know what it feels like to get done so that you'll want it again. And I think that's one thing that a lot of writers who start out, they don't have that, they don't know what it's like to complete something, and so they just keep going, and so that you can know how to get another one going.
Very cool.
That's all the wisdom.
Excellent. I think that's perfect. Well, we are out of time, and James, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It was a lot of fun. You're awesome. You really are.
I'm glad you had a good time.
Yes.
I'm glad everyone had a good time.
Yes.
This is I really am glad that we were able to put this together, because I think the Writer Punk project is a very good. It's not only just a feet wet opportunity, but it's a great way for people to get, a different spin on classics. And even some of the classics that are written are done, they do so much good, such a great job of presenting the source material that I've had to go back and reread a couple of the classics, even in the editing, just so that I can say that person had a great take on it, and I wish I had heard of that take the first time.
Wow.
It would have made me read it so much more the first time.
I do. I think that's great. And then maybe a way to get more, students or the, kids or younger, people to read the classics as well. I mean, with this little bit of spiced up stories. So I think that is awesome. And guys that are listening, all of the anthologies are the proceeds. They are given to Pause, correct? It's a charity anthology, so all the proceeds will go to Pause, and so it's a very worthwhile cause. So hopefully that you will go out and support support the authors and grab your copy. So James, where can everyone touch base with you and grab copies of your books? I know you mentioned it earlier, but if you want to go ahead so that everyone can connect with you.
Well, I have the Amazon page that has 2 sad books on it. Well, 1 good book, 1 sad book. And
more to come.
That's H. James Lopez, and that's at Amazon. And I have the standard Facebook page, which is also under H. James Lopez. There's no actual name that goes with the H. It's ridiculous. It's just it was a nickname.
Okay.
And so there's, I'm not going to tell you it's like Hector, but so I don't want people to go looking for something with an H on it. It is H. James Lopez, and that's all it is. But yeah, if people want to connect with me on Facebook, I usually post ridiculous things on my writer page about the process that I'm working on and how it pains me to deal with characters and all of the things they do.
Well, best of luck with all your future projects, and that they all work out, and that and I know they're going to be great. And thank you again for joining me this evening. And
thank you for having me.
And everyone that is listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and hopefully you will go out and connect with James. Also grab copies of the anthologies and connect with the Writer Punks on Facebook. So connect with the group. They're just awesome. I really do. I really, really am so very happy to have made the connection with these great writers and artists. So they're wonderful. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you, and we just hope that you have a wonderful night. Why? Because you deserve it.
See you later.
Happy reading, guys. Bye-bye.